What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. Today we're going to be going over the pre-release, talk about some leaders when it comes to the pre-release, what you're going to get in your pre-release kit, and also some tips that I like to follow when playing in sealed events. I'm hoping that this will help maybe some new players that didn't participate in the first set for Star Wars Unlimited. This is just kind of a way to kind of get new Star Wars Unlimited players ready for the pre-release for set 2 in the Shadows of the Galaxy. I'm super excited. I hope you guys are too. There is a giveaway announcement at the end of the stream, at the end of the video, so definitely go ahead and check that out as well. There's going to be a giveaway stream. All the information will be at the end of the video. Now, if you don't have a location to participate in the Shadows of the Galaxy pre-release and you're around the Myrtle Beach area and everything like that, right? Check out Myrtle Beach Games. We're going to be holding 2 pre-release events. We're going to have one on July 5th at 7 p.m. and then we're going to have one July 7th at 6 p.m. and we have plenty of kits. We want to get as many people there as possible. You know, you can come in, meet me, we can talk Star Wars. It's gonna be a lot of fun. If you are planning on trying to get to the event, you couldn't find a place and you're around this area, definitely check it out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And again, it's a good way to kind of get into the set before the official release, because you're gonna get packs early and be able to try out some of these new leaders before the official launch of the set. So sealed events are always my favorite. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, definitely check out Myrtle Beach Games July 5th or July 7th if you have the time and you're in the area, right? So what you're going to get from the pre-release, right, it's going to be kind of the same as the first set. You're going to get your promo leaders. You're going to get Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian Din Djarin as your promo leaders for this set. They're the starter deck leaders, and that's kind of what you're going to rock with. You're going to get 6 packs to open up to build your deck. Don't worry about the bases that you get from your packs, because you are going to be able to use any base you want as far as color to make your deck. We'll have some bases on hand and you can go ahead and just swap out and grab a base of your color. So you don't have to worry about pulling your base. Just the leaders in which you get from your pack and the promo leaders is what you're going to be able to use in this event. So if you don't pull, let's say, Bo-Katan, you cannot play Bo-Katan, right? So that's pretty much it. You're going to be opening up your packs. You're going to be getting 6 packs again, build your deck. You're going to get also the paper tokens and all that stuff in the little deck box. So that's what you're going to be getting for your pre-release kit. Again, build your deck to the best of your ability using your 6 packs and around the leaders that you're going to get. And now I'm going to go over some of the leaders and kind of my thought process when it comes to them when building a deck in this event, right? So first off, I'm going to talk about the unique leaders. I think that the reason that these 2 leaders are unique, we have Moff Gideon and Din Djarin, is because they're the starter deck leaders. And more often than not, you're not going to be able to play them in your sealed events, right? Unless you pull the showcase, but still that's very unlikely. So this might be the only sealed event that you do get to play with the starter deck leaders as an option, right? I do think that Moff Gideon has an easier way to build around when it comes to this, because all you have to really do is build a deck around 3 cost units, and then he kind of pops off, right? When he's a leader unit, he has overwhelm, and then when each friendly unit that costs 3 or less, when they attack into something, they get +1 in overwhelm, so it kind of makes them stronger. Take out your units or your opponent's units, and then you can also do excess damage into the base. Kind of keeps that synergy rolling, and pulling 3 cost units is not going to be as hard as possibly pulling other things. So I do think that that's easier to build around than Din Djarin, because Din Djarin requires you to go ahead and grab upgrades. You kind of have to build around him by getting the upgrades, you know. And if you don't pull that many upgrades in your deck, then getting to play Din Djarin might not be the option, okay? So basically, when you play an upgrade, you may exhaust him, and you can exhaust a unit that has 4 or less remaining HP. But if you don't have a lot of upgrades in your deck, or even a decent amount, then you're not going to be able to utilize this ability, and then basically you're just going to have a 6 requirement for an epic action to bring him as a leader unit just to attack with a 4/7. It might not be the most optimal leader to build around in this event. I do think Moff Gideon does have the potential to be pretty solid in this event, because again, just getting 3 cost units, it's probably easier than getting a bunch of upgrades to utilize the Mandalorian Din Djarin in its fullest potential, right? So those are the unique leaders, and they're just unique because they're there for the pre-release, right? Those are your promos you're going to get. You're guaranteed to get these leaders if you want to build around them. So that's why they're unique. The next set of leaders I want to talk about, and to me, these are the 3 that I'm going to build around, and they're like my best options, right? These are the 3 that I think are going to be like solid no matter what, right? I think that Kira is going to be really good in this event, mainly because the ability to give your units shields is really strong, to be able to swing in with your units and hit something and take them out and keep your units on the board, right? I think that that's extremely strong. It does cost 1 in an action, but you do have to take 2 damage, so keep that in mind as well. But they get a shield, and if you can get some grit units on top of that, it can be really, really strong, right? But still, the potential to give shields to units and use those units to swing into your opponent's units and keep them on the board is just really good. So I think that that's going to be really strong. Understanding that it is a rare, so you're not like, it's harder to get Kira in your pre-release kits because it is a rare leader, and you're like, they might just be harder to pull, right? So Kira, I still think it's gonna be really strong in this event. If you do want to build around her, I think that she's gonna be a really strong option. The one that I really want to build around, though, is Han Solo. He is a common, so that's pretty good there. And for an action, you can deal 2 damage to your unit, and you can play it for 1 less cost. That is extremely strong, and it just allows you to get out stronger units faster than your opponent. So if you have the initiative, let's say game 1, and you can play a 3-cost unit on turn 1, and even though you do have to take the 2 damage, you'll be able to swing into your opponent's base. And if your opponent wants to go ahead and use their unit to swing into that unit, then you just have an action to play another unit, and you're not falling behind. You get a bigger hit into the base. I just think the Han Solo might be the best option. I do think that when it comes to sealed events, faster decks tend to be pretty good. We saw that with Leia in the pre-release. We saw that with Tarkin. You know, he was kind of fast, making a bunch of tokens on his Imperial units. I thought that those were 2 really strong decks in the first pre-release, and I do think that the speed is going to be a factor with Han Solo in this pre-release as well. So consider building around Han Solo if you do pull it. If you can get a lot of heroic red cards, or even just red cards, it's just going to be really strong, because you're going to be able to pump out bigger units faster than your opponent. And I think that that is something that is extremely valuable, right? So that's why Han Solo might be my #1 choice, because of that ability, really. Next, I think that Fennec Shand is going to be something really good to build around as well. We saw how strong Ambush was with ECL. The people who got ECL in the pre-release and being able to ambush and take out a unit, it was just really strong. And Fennec Shand does go ahead and give a unit ambush that costs 4 or less. You do have to pay 1, so it will make the unit cost more for the initial payout, but still getting ambush on anything you want is still pretty solid. And then when she's out as a leader unit, they don't cost extra. Just go ahead and say the action, play a unit 4 or less, and it has ambush. It's just a walking ECL for unit. Yes, it's 2 less than ECL, but still, it could really be strong to swing into your opponent's units and get them off the board. So I think that these 3 units, these 3 leaders, are my 3 go-to. I think that these the ones are really strong. I think that they provide something that maybe the others don't when it comes to Han Solo: the speed to pump out bigger units, Fennec Shand to use ambush pretty much whenever you want, as long as you have the resources to do so, and stuff like that. And then when it's out as a leader unit, just kind of use it as they may be. And then go ahead and look at Kira being able to give out shields just by doing 2 damage to your units. Again, using those shields to potentially just keep swinging into your opponent's base and not have to worry about losing the unit for a couple of hits because it has a shield. Or you can use those units to swing into your opponent's units and kind of go that control route, right? I think that those 3 are my favorite leaders so far, thinking about building around. The next couple leaders I'm going to talk about are the fast deployment leaders. I think that these ones are also going to be pretty strong, but they have a little bit of, like, it has me a little bit weary to use it, right? So we have Kylo Ren and Lando Calrissian both coming out on 4, so they're both equally as fast as Sabine when it comes to deploying the leader, right? Lando Calrissian being a 2/5 doesn't make it overly strong to go ahead and swing into your base, but for an action, play a card using smuggle that costs 2 less. That's pretty good. You can get smuggle cards out of your resources cheaper, so that's pretty good. But on top of that, though, you do have to you have to destroy one of your own resources, and I do think that that is kind of scary. You're going to want to play a lot of low costing units in this deck and a lot of low costing cards, so you're not going to have to overly rely on the amount of resources that you have. But still, I think Lando, because it comes out on 4, you can do some funny things, some shenanigans with smuggle. I think it can be potentially fun and viable. I just think that the other 3 served a better role in this pre-release. And then when it comes to Kylo Ren, you're discarding cards, powering up your units for the phase, and then when he deploys on 4, he gets -1 attack for each card in your hand. So you do want to make sure that you have as little cards as possible in your hand when it comes to that point. That being said, I do think it is relatively easy when you are discarding a card each turn and playing a card each turn to get your hand size really, really low for that 4 action, like the epic action 4 resource phase, right? When you have 4 resources, I think you can get it down to 1 card pretty easily. So he's coming out at a 4/4 pretty much guaranteed, and you're swinging already for 4, and that's actually really strong. So I do think that that's going to be really powerful. The thing is that when you get down to no cards in hand and you have to play off the top deck, it can put you in a really bad spot. So you are, again, you're going to want to play with a lot of low costing units, because you might not want to put resources down after you get to the 4 point right away, just because you get Kylo Ren out, you have no cards in your hand. But then you kind of have to understand that, like, it kind of gets to the point where, you know, you're playing off the top of your deck, and it does get kind of scary. So that's something to kind of think about when it comes to Kylo Ren. But still, these 2 leaders are extremely fast, and they're probably viable because of their speed, right? The next group of leaders I'm going to talk about are the leaders that I think are solid but cost more than like 6 cost leaders. I do think they might not be as strong, not because they're not good, but just because they're not as fast as other leaders. And I do think pre-releases, again, you kind of want to go a little bit fast in the pre-release setting. But that being said, I do want to take a look at Rey and Jabba the Hutt, because these 2 cards are like really, really, really cool, and I think that they're going to be really strong. So Rey, the reason why I think that she's going to be a viable option for the pre-release is because that Restore 3 when she's deployed as a leader unit is just really, really, really strong. It gives you pretty much an automatic 3 heal at least once in the game, and that could bring you back from like a terrifying position, right? When she attacks, she gets to go ahead and give an experience to a unit with 2 or less power, and then you can pay 1 as her leader action, pay 1 in action, and give an experience token to something that has 2 or less power. So basically, when she comes out, she swings, she automatically gives herself an experience token more often than not, and she becomes a 3/7 with Restore 3, really strong. And yes, you do have to wait till 6 to deploy her, but I still think that makes it so she's going to be okay, just because the Restore 3 will make it so, yes, you're taking some extra hits, but then by the time she comes out, she could swing a game, because Restore 3 is really, really powerful. Also, being in blue, you do have more options to grab Sentinels if you do pull those in your pack, and Sentinels are going to be kind of important because really they're only in blue and green. And if you're not playing those colors, consider playing out of aspect with your Sentinels just for late game if you have to drop one down just to kind of protect yourself. But playing in blue, I do think getting those Sentinels, if you pull any of them, it could really help your deck be really strong, at least being able to provide you that protection to make sure the game is longer, right? So you're not going to be aggroed out of the building because you do have the option to put down some Sentinels and kind of protect yourself from those aggro decks. So keep that in mind. Next, talking about Jabba the Hutt here. Jabba the Hutt is awesome. He has the ability to go ahead and put a bounty on something each phase, and that bounty, when you go ahead and collect that bounty, you get to play the next unit from your hand for the phase for 1 less. So again, like Han Solo, you are getting out units faster than your opponent in terms of like cost. So you can, when you have 3 resources, you can play a 4 cost unit. That's just really strong. On top of that, when you deploy him, he captures a non-leader unit on your side, captures a, like you just get to capture a non-leader unit on the opponent's side. That's really strong. And then on top of that, the bounty now decreases the cost by 2. If you can manage to pull also a Jabba's Rancor in the pre-release and you play Jabba, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So again, Jabba, I think the ability to go ahead and play units for cheaper, even though you do have to collect the bounty, so you have to take out and maybe sacrifice one of your other units, you can get down a bigger unit than your opponent that phase, and it can really go ahead and set you up for future plays and stuff like that. I just think that Jabba the Hutt is going to be a lot of fun to build with, not only in the actual normal way to play, but also in sealed. I think he has a lot of potential in this event. The next group of leaders, you're going to see a bunch of leaders in this group here, are leaders that kind of require you to play depending on what you pull, right? We have Gar Saxton. Again, he's upgrade kind of like the Mandalorian. He's upgrade based. If you don't pull a lot of upgrades or even shielded units, you're not going to be able to really utilize his ability that often. But he's still, you know, pretty good. He's a 4/7 out. This costs 6 for the epic action. You know, it could be kind of meh if you don't get a lot of upgrades. So Gar Saxon just requires the upgrades to make him kind of pop off. Hondo, playing with that smuggle. I do think that he's going to be strong. I do think there's a lot of options for smuggle, and he can go ahead when you play this card with smuggle. You can give an experience token to one of your units. It's just pretty cool. Again, it does require you to pull the smuggle cards to make it kind of go. If you don't pull a lot of smuggle cards, you're not going to get a lot of value out of playing Hondo. Boba Fett requires you to have cards with keywords. That's probably a lot easier to do because a lot of cards in the set have a keyword. So as long as you have things with keywords, you can go ahead and use the ability, pump up your keyword users, or if you have a keyword played and you can use the action and pump up a different unit, make Sentinel stronger. It's pretty good. Boba Fett, again, just requires you to pull a lot of keywords. You have Bosk. I think Bosk is going to be a lot of fun as well, but it does require you to pull bounty cards from your deck. Yes, your opponent can have some bounty units on the board themselves, but Bosk is really at its strongest when you're placing the bounties on your opponent and then popping them and get the bounty that you want to proc for double, right, when you go ahead and have him out as a leader unit. So again, it does require you to get some bounties. Keep that in mind. Bo-Katan requires you to get some Mandalorian help, right? If you don't pull a lot of Mandalorians, it's not going to be able to pop off and get those damages, right? So because you have to swing with Mandalorians to get her leader ability, and then when you get her leader unit, yes, you can go ahead and swing with her and get the 1 damage to a unit, but if you swing at the Mandalorian prior to that, you can go ahead and pop 2 damage across the board, whether to the same unit or a different unit. It's just, again, it does require you to pull Mandalorian. So again, requires you to pull the cards from the packs, right? And then you have Cad Bane, who requires you to pull Underworld cards from your packs to play him, because again, when you play an Underworld card, your opponent chooses a unit to deal damage to, and then when he's out, he deals an extra damage, but again, your opponent gets to choose. That being said, though, Cad Bane being a 2/8 and with raid 2 might just make him viable in itself, because being able to swing for 4 and having 8 HP kind of makes him hard to get rid of. So he might just be viable to play outside of, even if you don't get an overwhelming amount of Underworld cards. But still, Cad Bane, pretty cool. These are, again, the leaders that require you to pull certain things out of your deck. Now, that being said, people said the same thing when I said that Leia was going to be really good. Oh, you have to pull Rebels out of your pack to make her good, so she's not actually as reliable. And yes, that might be the case, right? These leaders might not be as reliable as other leaders because it does require you to pull the cards. But these sets are designed for these cards, right? The set has a bunch of Mandalorians. The set has a bunch of cards with smuggle. The cards have a bunch of Underworld cards. So you're more than likely able to build these decks. It's just sometimes you can get really unlucky and not have the capability to do so. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you don't have enough of these cards to build around these leaders, do not try to force your way to play these leaders just because you like them, because it might end up costing you in the end. Just keep that in mind. As much as you might want to play Cad Bane, if you get like 4 Underworld cards, though it seems impossible, it's just not worth playing Cad Bane because you're not going to be able to proc his ability. So, getting into the leaders that I would say to stay away from, let's start off number 1, Hunter. The reason I say stay away from Hunter is because the likeliness of you getting multiple unique units that have the same name and on the board at the same time, it's just, I don't know. I just don't think that that's the safest bet. Also, it comes out at 7 resources. Yes, his overwhelm is a 5/8, but 5/8 in overwhelm is not enough to justify the ability and, the cost, right? So I do think that Hunter is a pass, for me at least, in this event. As much as I love Hunter, I wanted to build a Bad Batch deck so bad. I just don't think I'm going to be rocking with it, at least for the pre-release. The other 2 leaders that I say try to kind of stay away from, I think that Finn is a no-go. I think he's a no-go in the actual set. Maybe he can pop off. I also have no interest in playing Finn. I'm not a huge fan of the character, but also like defeating a friendly upgrade to give out shields, I just don't think that that has value here, especially because you can't pop your opponent's bounties off of your units. So like, if that was the case, then I felt like that would be really good, but that's not the case. You can't even do that. So I think that Finn is a pass, at least for me. Again, these are my opinions, and my opinions, you might not share them with me, and that's okay. I just don't think I'm going to be playing Finn. And Dr. Aphra, as much as I like the character, I just don't think that she is going to be worth playing. You can actually, I don't know, discarding a card off your deck every regroup phase seems kind of rough. And then also when you deploy her, you are hoping that you have 5 different costs amongst your cards in your discard so she can get the +3/+0 and become a 5/5. But if you don't, then it gets kind of scary because when she's deployed, you pick 3 cards from your discard pile and randomly add 1 back to your hand. I don't know. I just don't think that she has it in this pre-release event. I think that you can make a deck with her, right, when you build around her to have the cards of your choice. But in this event, I'd probably stay away from Dr. Afro. Now that we went over most of the leaders, I think it's time to go over some deck building tips. This is mainly for people who didn't participate in the first set pre-release and people who haven't really done sealed. If Star Wars is your first game and you want to get into this type of thing, it's just kind of some sealed deck building tips that I like to follow when it comes to pre-releases. The first one is, I know it might not be the sexy pick, but the gray cards are your friends. They're non-aspect cards, so you don't have to pay the penalty for the aspects. Also in this set, the gray cards are actually pretty good. The Bounty Guild Initiate, Lady Proxima, the Mandalorian Warrior, also the Twin Pod. It's just actually like, these are some good gray cards that you might not even feel bad playing, even if you do have enough of your aspect cards to play. Like, these might be cards that you want to consider playing anyway, but also the fact that they are gray cards and that you don't have to pay the aspect penalty no matter what. So they're just safe cards to put into your deck, right? Also, single aspect cards, always good to get because they're going to fill out the main majority of your deck. You're going to be playing, let's just say, red, blue. Any single aspects, you don't have to worry about heroism and villainy. It's just safe as well, as long as they follow your colors. One of the keywords that I tend to try to lean towards to put into my deck at all costs, even out of aspect, is Sentinel for the pre-release type of thing. Now, yes, if you aren't playing blue or green, you only have one option in each. So for heroism, it would be the Protector of the Throne, and for villainy, it would be the Black Sun Starfighter. Now, the issue is that those being your only options, you might not pull those. So having a Sentinel out of aspect, if you have to do it, just to kind of save you in the late game if you really, really need it, might be worth it, even out of aspect. Because, like, again, green and blue, right, Vigilance and Command are really the only colors that have Sentinels in this set, and that's something to kind of, you know, pay attention to. Like, listen, sometimes paying out of aspect to protect your base for a couple attacks is worth it, so just keep that into consideration, right? The next tip I want to go over is kind of understanding that when it comes to sealed format, they tend to be quicker games. So putting cards that cost too much or filling your deck with a lot of high cost cards might end up screwing you over or costing you in the long run, because your games aren't going to last as long as normal games. So maybe you're not going to be able to get up to that many resources to play these big cards. So I tend to prioritize lower cost units and lower cost cards in this type of format, just to make sure that I'm consistently being able to play each turn, right? I'm not going to be drawing into anything. My hand's not going to be cluttered. You're just going to, like, have consistent play. I tend to go 3 or lower majority for my unit just to make sure I have consistent board state. I can flood the board if it does go kind of long. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't add any of these big cards like Maul, Jabba's Rancor, Wrecker, any of these cards, right? You should probably add a few of them. But again, for sealed, it does typically tend to run at a quicker pace. Games tend to run out or end before you get to your high resource cards, because they just tend to be faster. So I do typically think to prioritize lower cost units and cards in this deck, but that does not mean not to put in a couple of big cards just in case it does go long. Just do not overflood your deck. That's the only thing. Do not overflood your deck with 7, 8, 9 cost units, because you're not going to be able to play them all. And yes, you can add them in and they become easy resource targets, sure. But if you do have a good amount, a majority amount of smaller units, your deck will probably be more consistent in playing each turn. And even if you're playing multiple cards each turn, that could potentially just be better for sealed format, in my opinion. Again, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying here. I just think that in my experience, when it comes to sealed, it does turn out better for you if you do tend to go the more aggro pace, fast paced, small units on the board and kind of go that route, right? That's not to say that you shouldn't, again, put a big unit. Like, I'm going to include a couple of big units just in case I do need to put a bomb on the board, right? I just need to drop a big ship on the board. If I'm playing, again, Command Villainy and I get Maul, I'm going to play Maul and put it in my deck. And if it gets up to that turn, boom, Maul goes into the board and it can swing the game. But just do not overflood your deck with huge units because it's just going to be inconsistent and you're going to lose out more than you're going to gain. That's going to do it for the tips and the leader talk for the pre-release for Shadows of the Galaxy. If you guys are new here, consider hitting that sub button. Support is always appreciated. And before you guys click off the video, make sure you stay tuned for this giveaway coming up shortly. It's just a way for me to get back to you guys. We did it for set 1. We're going to continue the giveaway every set. So the information for the giveaway is coming up right now. All right, guys, I'm here to talk about that giveaway I was going over before. Now, for this giveaway, quite like the first set, I'll be doing the same type of giveaway for the second set of Star Wars Unlimited. For Shadows of the Galaxy, I'll be giving away 1 booster box. I'll also be giving away some promo sleeves. This is from Fantasy Flight Deck Builder. Great game. If you haven't done so yet, check it out. But I'll be adding these into the giveaway. So you'll be getting a box, some sleeves, and then also a set of the promos from the pre-release. So if you don't get a chance to get the pre-release or go to a pre-release event, I'll be able to give you guys a set of the promos that came in there. So it's going to be a Din Djarin and the Moff Gideon promos. That's going to be the giveaway. The time of the giveaway is going to be during a live stream. It's going to be Tuesday the 16th, right? About 8 p.m. I'm going to be opening up a case on the channel, and halfway through, not only am I going to be giving away the box, the sleeves, and the promos for 1 person, so that's going to be at the end of the stream. You're going to get a chance to win the box, but another person's also going to be able to win that popper deck I was talking about, right? It's the Sabine and Leia popper deck. So this is going to be all commons, right? And they're going to be foils, hyperspaces, and hyperspace foils of every card in the deck, right? So it's just going to be all commons of a popper deck, but it's going to be all blinged out. That's going to be in the middle of the stream. So as I open up my 3rd box, after the 3rd box, I'll be giving away this popper deck. I'll also be including an ECL in there, just so you have a base worth using for the deck, right? So it's not going to be anything too crazy in here. They're all commons, but they're all foils, hyperspaces, and hyperspace foils. So after my 3rd box on the stream on July 16th, I'll be giving this deck away. And then at the end of the stream, I'll be giving away, again, the box, a pack of these sleeves, and I'll be giving away the promos from the pre-release. So again, if you guys are excited for that, make sure you mark those calendars. I'll be opening up a full case. I'll be talking about Star Wars Unlimited, and we're going to be going over maybe some decks that I plan on playing, building, and stuff like that. I do have some couple of videos coming out shortly about decks I plan on building and why and what makes each leader kind of what I want to build, right? So that's going to be on that stream. We're going to go ahead and talk just like we did for the first set. I want to give back to you guys, and you guys have a chance to win a free box. I'll cover the shipping, nothing for you guys on your end. I'll show what the person pulled in their box right now. It was crazy. He got a showcase, a Boba Fett, and a Luke, and he had a great box. He said he had a great time opening up with his nephew. So that's what I want to go ahead and do again. I'm going to probably do this for every set. So get excited for that. July 16th. 8 p.m. We're going to start the live stream, and at the end of the live stream, we'll be giving away a box. And I hope, you guys can tune in. Thank you for the support as always. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.